Hey guys, Serpentine Machine Transport. This is part 2 of the tension pulley installation, the serpentine belt, part 2. So I have shut the truck off. Just charging up my batteries. So the part numbers. This is what you're gonna need for the belt. There's your part number. And like I said, that was petrol's cost, but if you buy it from Freightliner, it's $22, I believe, $22 and some cents without taxes. But if you buy it online, I'm sure it's going to be probably even cheaper than that with free shipping. Also, here's the part number for the pulley. And then that was the price from Freightliner, or from Petrol. Freightliner wanted $122 for it, or $124. And like I said, online it was $75 on eBay. So I'm gonna just show you guys what I did real quick. And sorry for my big hand being in the way. Unplug my phone. So that's the finished product right there. And this right here is the new pulley, and then obviously the new belt. But I'm giving you guys this video because I didn't see any videos of how the serpentine belt went, so I asked Freightliner to send me the schematic of it. Because I actually had it routed a different way and it looked like the belt was too big, but that's not the case. It's nice and tight. So anyways, this, you need a 1/2-inch drive to fit in the square. So once you run the belt over and then over, so it comes down, goes on top, comes here, and then the slack goes down here on your water pump, alternator, and AC pump. So, boy, that's pretty hot, man. I can't believe that's not that hot. Anyways, there's I have the old pulley system here, but that's finished product right there. So if you guys, I'm gonna keep it on there for another couple seconds. So when you guys watch this video, you know exactly how the serpentine belt goes on there. And like I said, this is spring loaded, so this moves back and forth. You actually have to put the 1/2-inch drive in here, like a socket, like a ratchet, or even like a torque bar. And then all you do is come up here and you just pull it this way, and then this piece moves all the way this way, and then the spring brings it back to provide tension on your belt. That's what keeps the tension on there. So this was the original part, obviously probably original to the truck with all the corrosion and everything. And this was what went bad, was the bearing in here. You can see how much sloppy that is. The bearing and the bushing went, so it's supposed to be tight like this and rotate freely. But you can see inside it's not supposed to be like that, where it's play like that. And this is that 1/2-inch drive I was telling you about. So obviously this is the bad one. And there is no core on it, obviously, so because they can't reuse that. But that's the finished product. So once again, what happened was my belt broke because this broke. And then when I heard when I was climbing the hill and then it spun out, this actually almost wore a hole through my coolant line. It's pretty grooved on the bottom because the belt wrapped around this and slammed this into that nut. So anyways, what I did was, as soon as I heard it, I smelt burning rubber, and I immediately thought it was a belt. And then when I got to the top of the hill, it was dark, and I saw my headlights were super dim, and I checked my voltage on my dash, and it was already dropped down to just a little over 12 volts. So I knew I obviously had a belt that was going to the alternator, because your alternator charges your batteries, which charges your electrical system, or charges the batteries for your electrical system. Now, I don't know if I would have eventually, if the truck would have died, if it would have dropped all the way down to, say, 0, I would imagine it may have, because of the ECM, the computer system. But I drove for about 100 miles with no serpentine belt, and obviously not all that with lights on. It was dark, and it was raining, and I had the windshield wipers on, so I immediately pulled over and I shut off my power inverter to cut the power to my fridge and my microwave and all the other stuff. And then I took the inside lights and I turned the dash lights all the way down on the panel so that it wasn't drawing more power. And I turned my CB off. I turned everything off that I possibly could have for the internal power, and just kept, obviously I had my lights on. So I was hoping to get to a small truck stop or something, because I was in the middle of nowhere on 93, Highway 93, which was north of I-15 in Nevada. And then what happened was, I shut down, and like I said in the first video, don't turn. If this thing actually, for driving 100 miles and having my lights on for probably 30 miles of that 100 miles, once I put all this on here at the truck stop, it started right up. So it didn't, it had enough juice in it to start it. It wasn't like it was like, it started right up. So my guess is you could probably go about, with your lights on and everything, I'd probably say 100 miles, maybe. So, but try not to. I wouldn't risk it. But anyways, when I stopped last night and shut the lights off, kept the truck idling because I didn't know if I could restart it or not. And I sleep with a CPAP machine, so I didn't sleep at all because I didn't have my mask on because there was no power in the truck. So, but anyways, I kept the truck idling, and then when the sun came up, I started rolling, and then came over here to the Petro in North Las Vegas by the Speedway. And luckily they had the parts. Got juiced a little bit, but I was able to do it myself, so it probably would have been a couple $100 probably to put this in, I would imagine. I don't know, probably at least an hour for TA. So you're probably talking between $125 and $200 to have it installed, and I did it for free myself. So, but yeah, so this is it. But like I said, I wouldn't, if it were daytime, obviously not a big deal. And I still had brake lights, I still had turn signals, I still had my hazards. But I wouldn't chance, like I said, I wouldn't chance driving this thing at night for 100 miles with your lights on, because it might drain everything down. And I think it would probably kill the truck, because there's no ECM, there's no power to the computer system. But I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic and I don't pretend to be one. However, like I said, just don't chance it. If you can drive during the day, get to the nearest place you possibly can. And I provided the part numbers for you, so it made it easier. I had to look up the part numbers through Freightliner. Freightliner here is closed on Sundays, so I was able to call the 24-hour Freightliner in Houston, Texas, to get the part numbers, because obviously Petro is too lazy to do that. They want the customer to do everything. So the gal was like, oh, I don't know, you're going to have to get the part number. And I'm like, well, Freightliner's closed. And she said, well, you're going to have to figure it out. So I figured it out. You just call Houston, call the Freightliner dealership in Houston. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, I guess. So I called them, gave them the last 6 of the VIN, and they gave me the part numbers. So, and like I said, don't get this belt, the serpentine, confused. And this is, I don't know if they actually call it a serpentine. I think they call it just the main belt for the alternator, AC compressor, and the water pump. So, and then those are called fan clutch belts. So don't get them confused, because obviously you can see the difference. This is thicker and those 3 are thinner. So that's it. It went out very easy. Oh, one more thing. There's a little behind this piece on this, behind this pulley system on this block right here. There's a spot. This is where the bolt goes through in the front. It's just this, the only bolt that you have is this one, and it came off very easy. And it is actually torqued to 35 pounds of pressure, I guess, according to Freightliner. But I mean, that's not much torque, so I'd give it a nice crank, and that should be good. Don't try to get gorilla on it and over tighten it. Just get it tight, and then give it a nice shove just to cinch it, and then that's it. Don't even mess with it after that. And then, like I said, that bolt goes through here, and then this one here lines up with a hole behind here. There's a hole down in this corner down here. There's a hole actually in this metal block here. There's a hole that this sits in. Make sure that that's lined up. So it's essentially going to be like this. So, and then that is going to line up into the block, like I said. So, but this kind of stuff does happen. Like I said, I think this is probably original to the truck. So it's a 2001. So going on back there. But anyways, that's the video, man. It was a lot easier than I thought. You should always carry tools in your truck anyways. I was fortunate. I didn't have a 3/8 inch. I didn't have a 1/2 inch drive. I only had a 3/8, which would just, you couldn't do anything with a 3/8. It's too small to fit in that hole. That's what she said. Haha, funny. I know. Anyways, but I went over to Petro, and I bought the parts from them. So I left my license and said, hey man, I'm trying to do everything I can. I tried using my torque bar that tightens down my straps on my trailer. I tried this. I tried pulling it as hard as I could. Nothing would work. So I went there and gave them my license and said, hey, would you guys mind if I used a 1/2 inch drive bar or cheater bar, or just a 1/2 inch drive, just a regular bar with a square head on it, a torque bar or whatever it's called. Anyways, and they said, yeah, not a problem. So I left them my license, and I came back here, put it right in there. After trying to pull this thing for about a half hour, trying to get it back, and without success, I went, put it right in there, stood up here, pulled it all the way back, and she moved all the way back here, and I was able to get the belt. So I ran the belt all the way through here, and then I left this one here. So when I tightened it, I was able to bring the belt back around here. And then make sure that she sits in your grooves, because if you make a mistake and this thing is overriding this, it could fall back off when you start the motor, or it might just go right straight with it. But anyways, that's the video on how to do a serpentine belt and a tension puller, or tension pulley, a pulley tensioner, I think that's what it is. So anyways, I hope the video was helpful. Once again, if you like it, please thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. And like I said, it was a lot easier than I thought. Take care.